Hi everyone, Lisa here again at Everything is a Lie. I've got a bit of an urgent call for help if anyone can help me out with this. I want to talk about demons and entities and reptiles particularly. But if anyone knows Paul Cook, I'm guided to make this video purely because Paul Cook is in danger of accepting a reptilian entity, which I'll explain further in a moment, the magic alligator suit. So if anyone has contact with Paul Cook, please direct him to this video because Spirit is quite worried about his welfare. He's been under attack by I'll be honest, by his ex for some time, who is carrying a reptilian. And we need to make sure that it gets nowhere near him, or he will take on the reptilian. Then he will also be able to use its magic against whoever he chooses, or the reptilian chooses, more to the point, and Paul won't be able to stop it. So if you know Paul, please direct him to this video. I've tried to sort of get his attention without being a annoying fan, but he's limited his contact at the moment. So let's talk about entities, demons, and reptilians. So reptilians are an entity technically. They don't take full possession of the mind and the body, just the body. An entity will attack and attach and is, you can be bothered and annoyed by entities. They'll be basically in your ear. It's that annoying little voice that's telling you to do stupid things, or think bad things about people. They will attach to you wherever you have damage in your auric field, where you've had unhealed trauma. That's it, basically, trauma wounds. Sorry, I'm getting directions straight from Spirit. Get this straight. I don't want to give you wrong information. So, yes, if you've had some sort of traumatic injury, okay, I don't want to give away too much, but Paul's is a codependency thing where he feels the need to be in relationship because he's been hurt at some point. I won't go any more than that. But I've known other people with the same. I have a friend who I've recently had issues with because he took on a reptilian. He was a light worker. He was the reincarnation of someone very important. And unsuspectingly, he took one on. So reptilians and entities in general will attach themselves through the wounds in your auric field if you are not whole and complete and fully healed emotionally. Okay, so if you're carrying any trauma wounds, any blocks in your energy field, etc., that's how they'll get in. So my most recent one was my solar plexus, which is why I haven't been making enough videos. And now I'm fully healed. They'll still circle me, they'll annoy me, but I can usually ward them off with Palo Santo, sage for demons. There's not many demons that can tolerate sage, but if you've got a reptilian, basically forget it. There's not much you can do other than keep that person who has been given the reptilian as a surrogate to bring it to you. This is how the Masons do it. They will give it to someone you love and you are vulnerable to. So this is what happened with my friend recently. He would talk very, very fondly of his girlfriend. She was indispensable. She took care of everything for him and he couldn't get by without her. And I mean, to me, that's a little bit sad of a 30-something-year-old man. But yeah, I mean, we all want to be loved and want to be in relationship. But the fact that she'd made herself indispensable was part of her job as his minder. So she basically wheedled her way into every part of his life, and he felt that he couldn't do things without her, that he just couldn't cope without her even. So in that way, he kept himself vulnerable. If he had left her and gone out on his own, lived his own life, become strong and independent in himself without that need and that pull towards, I must have someone, I can't be alone. Look up codependency. But I mean, that's just the wound. It could be in any of the chakras, anywhere in your auric field. Okay, so the whole thing, it's not been about what the ex-gens say. The JC person is not coming to save us or anything. It's all actually been, not rabbit holes either, actually, about healing yourself. The whole journey, the process up to now, getting yourself clear. Now, whilst we've all been diving down rabbit holes and finding out the most fascinating stuff, we will finish pulling history back together in the future. The urgent call, folks, is heal yourself. So for Paul, he needs to heal his codependency wound, and I won't talk any more about that. It's Paul's business. But the same with my friend. They set this reptilian upon her after they pushed her into his life, basically, and there was love spells and everything involved to get him to want her and her to stay with him. They do all this, they make it happen. So when they put the reptilian on her, she basically just had to keep being near him until it moved across. So let me describe it. An entity will natter in your ear or whatever. You know, you've got Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder. The entity is like the same thing, really. It's going to nag at you. It's going to say, that person's lying. What are they up to? You know, that's the suspicious voice. And don't get me wrong, suspicion is good. Being aware of your surroundings and who you're interacting with, absolutely. But it may be incessant. It may be the voice that says, go on, have another drink. Or you've got to have a cigarette. You haven't had a cigarette for 20 minutes. Go and have a cigarette. You know, it's that voice. It's going to trip you up. It's telling you to do stupid things or not to trust people that you should trust. So I can only describe it as the opposite, really, of your conscience, how it might come through. Depends how you relate to your own inner voice as well. It may just come through as urges. I had one about a year ago, and my first inkling that something was wrong, because I'm not much of a drinker and it tends to make me pretty sick these days, was I had the urge to drink. And I thought, what on earth is this where is this coming from? I wasn't in a bad way. I was in perfectly happy land at that time. I was doing a course that I was loving. And I suddenly wanted to drink. What I also found out, though, because I'm clairaudient, was I could communicate with it. So that's another story for another day. But a reptilian, you could have an entity on basically every chakra, every wound, wherever. You can be carrying all the 7 deadly entities around with you, plus some that the Masons conjured that weren't already about. A reptilian is basically, they're summoned for someone. So whatever you think about the royals or whoever we've slandered possibly as reptilians, which a lot of them are, they're carrying a reptilian entity. They're not born part reptile. They're not from another race. They are carrying a summoned for them reptilian entity. So it works like an overlay. So whereas an entity will just attach to you and be kind of, you know, people that can see them. I can't see them. I'm starting to make them out a little bit in the dark. So I can see them moving in the dark. In the daylight, broad light, I can't see anything. A reptilian will work like a complete overlay, so hence the magic alligator suit. And it's not full possession like a demon. A demon will move in. Often, demons are often sexually transmitted. Reptilians can be, but you don't need to get that close to catch one if it's been assigned to you. So it basically moves into your auric field. So wherever your auric field is, depending how healthy and in touch with yourself you are, it will move into your auric field. It won't take over your mind, but it will take over all your energy and the functioning of your body pretty much. So you'll still be able to get through the day like a normal person, but when someone irks you, you just basically like roll your eyes and shoot out black magic. They don't need to cast spells. They don't need to do rituals like the Masons. They don't need to abuse anyone physically or sexually to achieve the magic. They just need to think it, send you hate. And for the attacks I've been receiving, it largely comes through like fever. So not dissimilar to the hot flush or hot flash that menopausal women might have, and I have experienced the difference, but it's like a sudden onset fever. And me, I'm always return to sender. Please see my previous videos about that. I'll try and clip it in here so you can see what it looks like. But something like a reptilian that's sending me illness, and I'm not looking at protecting it in any way. We need it out of the realm. We need it to be worn out, exhausted, and sent straight back to Satan, which is where it's come from. They will take over your energy and they will use you to send magic out to wherever they choose. So basically, by sending it back, I'm sending its sickness or whatever it's sending, illness generally, back at it. Now, unfortunately, that's going to kill the person in the long run, but that's what they do anyway. They will keep attacking and attacking until they've completely drained the energy out of the person that they are running. So once the suit goes on, it's on to stay. The only way to get rid of them is basically to get someone to channel a banshee for you, and they burn like I'm told to tell you, and hurt like hell to get rid of. And also channeling a banshee is quite dangerous for the person as well. So I have been trained, I have been versed. I haven't had to do it yet. I don't really want to. When I was in training for that, I was instructed to basically be by the water and either get under a cold shower or walk in the water at the beach and be there, because channeling the banshee burns, and losing an entity such as a reptilian burns. Now, they come from another realm, just in case you're wondering, not from purgatory where Satan is, but from an entirely other realm, and they summon them from that realm to a surrogate or direct to a person. So a lot of high-level Masons, including their overlord, will have reptilian entities, and along with those that we see in the media who do the little flicker eye thing when they're under pressure, or when they're under stress, or when they're busy concentrating on sending magic, they will slightly unmask. The eyes might flicker. You may see the reptilian shape if you're on the ball. But often, like, the eye roll is the giveaway. It is basically, it's like the ghost of a reptile, if that makes any sense to anyone. And it's attacking you, possessing you, but not full possession. So you're going to be in there knowing that you're hurting the people that you love as well, which apparently sucks a lot. I've never been good at hurting people I love. I'm probably worse for that and more codependent in regards to that, as I don't like to hurt people. But in self-protection, absolutely, you must. What is that behind me? Is that fluff? It's a piece of cat hair going up the fan. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, so you can't get rid of them. You can't get rid of them. Once it's given to you, it's going to drain the life out of you. Or you learn to work with it and manage it, which takes a heck of a lot of time and effort. And Masons are trained highly before they accept one. So they don't just sick me a reptile and off I go. They are trained to deal with them and to manage them. Otherwise, it just takes over. It does its thing. It uses all your energy. It may take a week. It may take a month. And depending how strong you are, the healthier you are physically is better for the reptile. But the more unhealthy emotionally, again, the same with any entities. So, the difference between entities and demons. Demons are full possession. You may encounter demons in soulless people. They're useless without entities and demons. They can't really function. It's the sort of person, maybe you speak to them and you think, wow, did that person have a personality at all? That soulless people are very good at masking being normal. That's how they get through society. In society, they have to learn from human souls and other souls, because we're not all human souls. They have to assimilate in society and appear not to be energy vampires, because that's the only way they can get energy. They don't have a soul and a connection to Creator and the higher source, God, however you look at that. So a demon is often assigned to a soulless person because they're much more capable of carrying them. They're not fighting them at all, because the soul is not fighting the demon. What else there, Spirit? Sorry, say again. Right. A lot of people, okay. So a lot of people will get them from birth. My mum got one at birth, and I've wondered my whole life, what is wrong with this woman? She's witty. She's relatively intelligent, Mum. She's fairly switched on. But she used to drive me nuts. I used to feel often like when I was a child, I was parenting her more often. I would have to think for Mum or explain things to her. And it wasn't until we recently encountered a security guard that I said, well, what the heck is his problem? And Spirit explained docile demons. And this demon was attached to my grandfather when he worked for the post office in that beautiful building in Sydney, which I'll talk more about. He was assigned, when he first went to work, a docile demon. So he wouldn't create problems. He would just do his job. And when So he was only 14 when he went to work there as a telegram boy. The Masons were attaching demons basically to everyone that entered the public service then, of varying kinds. Some quite benign, like the docile demon, just slows you down and helps you stay indoctrinated and in the program. But many others as well. Apparently my brother got one when he went to work at the bank. But if you're soulless, you may get one assigned to you. Now, this is how it ended up with my mother, and fortunately not with me. Mum had a soul, no issues there. She was born out of a loving relationship. But from my grandfather, the demon passed to my grandmother, and then Mum was born with it. So my grandmother had a lot of issues in her pregnancy, and including preeclampsia, and she had 3 months in hospital after having Mum, not just recovering from the birth and the preeclampsia, but recovering from the demon as well. And my grandfather went on to then go to night school and move up through the ranks in the post office, and study when he really couldn't before. He was without parents, etc., and went to work at 14. And it wasn't until he had passed the demon on that he was suddenly back to his full mental capacity and abilities. And he went and did a diploma at technical college and rose up through the ranks at jobs. Whereas Mum, who'd taken the demon on, she was happy, working at the local dress shop or whatever. She always did menial work. She even was happy to work at the factory for a long time. The money was good. She saved up and took us to America, etc., when I was 12. But menial work, happy. She was a compulsive knitter. Just leave the worries of the world, just sit and knit and watch the TV and put on a musical. And so they affect people in different ways. They're very, very different, and they will use demons to achieve their magic as well. So there are a lot of, say, demons. The KKK, yeah, okay. The KKK one is an entity, though. Okay, the KKK summoned these entities way back when we know what the KKK were doing. Very vicious and very racist entities. And then these were used again in World War II. Yes, World War II and Vietnam. They were assigned, especially in Vietnam, to warrant officers because they were racist, and warrant officers dealt a lot with the POWs and communications between other countries, etc. So they basically sick them on people to achieve their nasty ends, which is poor communications and mistreatment of POWs, which ordinarily under war conditions might not have happened. Another one I encountered recently, which really blew my mind. I was just walking around a site that I'll talk more about soon, and I can't wait to tell you, but I'll keep it for now. I hopped out of the bus and I walked to look at the view and get a view, and there was a lady with a little minibus and a special needs person. I'll just leave it at that. She would have been in her 40s, and similar with the carer, who was just on one side of the van having a cigarette, and the woman on the other side, the special needs woman. As I was walking sort of towards them, hi, no real need for conversation until she wanted to talk about my bus and everything. But the special needs and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I just smiled, like Mum used to teach me. Don't stare, and don't make fun. Don't laugh. But she reminded me straight away of a bird, and I just thought, oh, that's a bit weird. Cuckoo. Like, oh no, be nice. Don't say anything nasty. Don't let on that you're unnerved. And then a car drove up behind us, and she was like, oh, and I thought, oh my God, she's like a bird or something. And I went, spirit cuckoo, and they explained parrot demons. So they use, when they need a parrot for their magic, can you think where they might use parrot magic? Maybe subliminally behind the news. They can't do their sicko sex magic with a parrot. Obviously, that's just human parrot doesn't work. It'd have to be a very big parrot. So, God, I can't believe I'm talking about this. So they create a parrot entity, or parrot demon in this case, put it on the person, and then abuse the person to create the black magic, which they then overlay onto your news broadcast. They've got all bases covered, people. But this poor woman too, Spirit explained fully to me what happened, because I was like, what is the deal there? And I had to have pity for the woman. She was born with it. So her mother was apparently soulless, a Masonic rape for cash victim. And they do this. There are people out there that are doing that just for the money, then harvesting the energy to create the black magic. So this poor woman was born soulless. They put a parrot demon on her, abused her until 20-ish, when she was an adult and almost completely used up, but also pregnant, and she passed the demon onto the child. So the child was born with the demon, and that's who I met. She was rather colourfully dressed. She had pink fluffy hair, and yeah, the only word that came to mind when I looked at her, which is not a word I would use to describe someone that has a mental issue, a mental illness, or special needs, etc., was cuckoo. And to me, that immediately felt mean. But that was the word I was channeling, really. She had a parrot demon. So they're out there. They're all around us. Most mental illness is demonic possession. Although a lot of the just hearing voices, bipolar, etc., schizophrenia, can be just regular run-of-the-mill 7 deadly entities. But those people are, like I was, able to hear it. Fortunately, I'd made good connection with my Palladian and Arcturian guides before that happened, and I did recognize the difference. And suddenly, yes, there was 3 instead of 2. And I was like, okay, who's the new guy? Dear. More on that another time. What else did we want to discuss? Again, if anyone can get this to Paul Cook, please. He is at risk. They've sent it with his name on it, and it's attached to his ex, who's trying to find reasons to catch up with him, apparently. He needs to stay the hell away from her at all costs. Oh, we're going to have a card. Yay, a card. New deck. I got this on a course I did I'd wanted it for a long time. So as soon as I saw it, I went, that's the deck. New cards is always new lessons. Quite a few in this deck. It's been a heck of a ride the last couple of months, especially the education into black magic that I didn't really even suspect. I had an idea that white magic existed and not to mess with magic in general. I met someone recently that shared their magic story with me, and mine was very much the same. I tried, a spell out of a spell book 20, maybe not quite 20 years ago. I'd broken up with someone, or he'd broken up with me. I couldn't understand why. I thought we were a perfect match. He had a lot of wounds that he hadn't healed. And I did a simple spell, but it did involve a drop of blood and a bay leaf. And here's me thinking, oh, this is an interesting book. I'm sure this is all crap though. And I tried it. And the spell was basically to make him cross my path again, so that he would have to face me and speak to me, not just avoid me, as he had been doing. The payoff there was, it was affecting his free will. It was basically pulling him out of his environment to cross my path. Now, minor, in that we lived in the same suburb, etc., but it was affecting another person's free will. Didn't say that in the book, did it? The backfire on me was, for the next 3 weeks, as I tried to get over him, he appeared everywhere. Every time I got in the car, every time I walked down the street. Yes, we were living in the same suburb, but I would see him usually only if I went to the pub and went where his stool was and went and said g'day, and had a drink. He rarely ever appeared to me out in public. For 3 weeks, he tortured me almost every day. I would go to turn right, to turn on my way home, and his car would be in front of me at the set of lights because his house was the same direction before I turned off. It was just nuts, the amount of times I saw him. And it took me a long, long time to realize that it was a backfire. It was a big time backfire. So yeah, recently I spoke to someone that did much the same thing. Her mother had Wiccan training, and she thought she'd have a go at it. And she was trying to basically summon back an ex. Instead of that ex coming back to her, all 3 of the others that she didn't want to know about anymore, they all came back and tried to start things up with her again. And, she's beating them off with a stick, basically. So all magic really that is affecting another person's will, their free will, because it's free will on earth. That's why the system is going down now. It has to. It's affecting everyone's free will. There's karmic repercussions for that. As for the karmic repercussions of someone that's dealing a reptilian, they're often soulless, and the Masons don't really care. They don't care what happens to that person. They're there for a purpose. They're used, they're discarded. More often than not, they're killed before the next spell. Some of it is just that hideous. I've talked about that. Check my last video. There is also, I've left a video unlisted, and I've pasted the link in my Sejuna video for that, and it was a follow-up update. I've just put the link there. I haven't made the video public because it's quite graphic, and it's really ugly. It's stuff you don't want your children to hear. And sorry I dropped the F-bomb. I'll try and bleep that out. Oh, that's me. Okay, another one. The One Ring Circus. Ah, that's funny. No, that's not the card I wanted, Spirit. Come on. Shuffle more. That one. Mountain card. Is this the one you want? Read it. Okay. We've got the mountain card, number 6. That's a little bit Paul Cook video-ish, isn't it? Okay. Hang on, I can't hold that up while I open the book. Read it. Ah, okay. Alrighty. Reading. Mountain. You have the capacity to flow around any obstacle. This is the time to adapt. Sometimes you'll come across what appears to be an insurmountable obstacle, like a huge mountain that separates you from your success. You might think that climbing it or chiseling away at it is the answer. Sorry. I'll read that again. You might think that climbing it or chiseling away at it is the answer. But why take such a treacherous, tedious approach? Be like the rivers that flow around the mountains naturally. You'll move past this obstacle relatively quickly if you choose the easy way around. This is the time to adapt to your circumstances. If you do decide to climb, remember to take one step at a time, opting for the next right action. That's it. It's about healing too. Okay, was there anything else, Spirit? Okay, apparently that was really, really good, and that's what they wanted. So I'm going to leave it there for now, folks. I had no intention of making a video tonight, but they called me, and here I am. Nice to have you back again. Thanks for watching. Please, somebody get this to Paul Cook. He needs to stay away from her. Okay, folks, more soon. I've got so much to do. Catch ya. Bye.